everybody. Welcome back to another session of the Hopry. My name is Mark Starr, and tonight, well, it's Monday Night Football and it's cold outside, so what better time than to drink a barley wine? Now, if you're not familiar with a barley wine is much like an Imperial IPA, only there's a lot larger, lot bigger, more robust malt backbone, so that it gives it a really sweet characteristic, a very nice mouthfeel, but also a load of hops. And I love hops, and I would say probably aside from an Imperial IPA or a stout, the barley wine is probably one of my favorite styles of beer. Now, you're all probably very familiar with this brewery. It's called Sierra Nevada. In fact, Sierra Nevada is probably one of the first craft breweries that people associated themselves with probably within about the last 5 to 10 years. They're out of Chico, California, and I would say pound for pound, most of the beers that they make are really, really good. I used to drink their pale ale, as far as 5 years ago, and that was one that I used to like. And that was one that I think was, that was one of the first times I learned to develop a taste for bitterness. But anyway, this beer here, this Bigfoot barley wine, this is a 2009 vintage, but I've had this one sitting downstairs here for probably, I don't know, maybe a good 6 to 8 months, and I just recently put it in the refrigerator, and I figured tonight, after watching a little bit of football, and kind of feeling the brisk air outside, that I would share a good barley wine with you. So let's go ahead and open this one and have a little bit of fun. See what we get out of this one. I'd say it's probably only been, I don't know, maybe 8 weeks since I've had one of these, but I remember really liking it quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and pour. Alrighty. And now for the color on this one, there's a slight amount of haze, and that's common when you have beers that have a lot of hops in them. But in terms of color, I wouldn't say this is ruby red. It's in between a caramely orange color and a nice red color. The head on this one, though, is quite nice. It's like an off-white, like a creamy white colored foamy head, and I'm getting, I don't know, maybe a finger and a quarter of head on there, but really nice kind of head retention, not going anywhere too quickly, which is good. That means you're going to be able to kind of take in some of those flavors on every sip. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and shut my mouth and stick my nose in here and see what's going on. Wow. Whew. Man, I mean, the thing that I like about barley wines is that you can really smell the hops that they put in these beers. But because there's such a huge caramel malt backbone on these, you really kind of get a floral component. It's more of a almost like a not a sour note. Let me give it another smell. There's something I'm going for here that it's like astringent. Now, I'm not going to say that it tastes like cabbage, but when you take a head of cabbage, you chop it up, you throw it in a pan, maybe a little red wine in there, and you roast it. It kind of has a really astringent sort of fragrance, but it also smells quite nice too. I get a lot of that in the nose, and I would imagine, I'm pretty confident that that comes from the caramel malts that they put in these beers. I almost get some flowers in there too. I wouldn't go so far as to say that I'm smelling roses, but maybe, like some lilacs or lilies. It really has a nice floral aspect to it. But I'm going to go ahead and taste it because I can't wait. This is from what I remember, a really, really good beer. So immediately I get that bitterness from the hops. But on the back end, I'm getting a lot of fruits like, like maybe some figs, like a caramely sort of date, some of the oranger type of dried fruits, maybe even some like sultanas or golden raisins in there. In terms of the mouthfeel though, this is one of the things that I like about barley wines. They're not shy, okay? They're not going to take it easy on you. They're not going to be subtle. I mean, they really scrub your tongue. They let you know what, buddy? You're mine tonight. And that's what I like about these beers, especially when it's cold outside. And I think that's probably part of the reason why I wanted to drink one of these tonight. But I think on the tongue and in the taste, what I really kind of get is, sometimes you'll go to a supermarket and you'll see the different types of honeys that they sell on the shelves. You've got like your Tupelo honey, you've got your clover honey, you've got orange blossom honey. To me, this kind of feels like it would situate itself in there. It's got a nice, like I said, it's got a nice perfume, but it is kind of sweet. And the bitterness, I think, while a little bit on the heavy side, really kind of helps balance it. And with a barley wine being as bitter as they are, you really do need that caramely backbone to kind of help support that beer. Otherwise, all you're going to taste is bitterness, and it's probably not going to be very good. Now, as I said earlier, I drank their pale ale a long time ago, and I always felt that that beer was really bitter. I'm glad I drank it, though. It really kind of helped me develop a palate for bitter beers. And moving into this one, I think it really kind of helped that I drank those. But I think that Sierra Nevada tends to use a little bit too many bittering hops in their beers and not enough floral, meaning that they don't add enough hops towards the end of their boil. The closer you add them, or I should say the earlier you add hops to a boil, the more they're going to kind of take on a bitter sort of quality. But with barley wines, I think you really kind of need that in there. But I mean, I will say that this is not my favorite barley wine, but it's probably in my top 5. I mean, for a brewery that you can find just about anywhere, if you want to have a really good idea of what a barley wine tastes like, I would probably try to find these. I know that they only release them, I think once or twice a year. I may even, say 3 times a year. I'm not really quite sure on that. But I will tell you that sometimes they're hard to find. If you're walking around the liquor store ever and you see the Bigfoot Barley Wine by Sierra Nevada, try to grab a 6-pack, maybe even 2. The good thing with these beers is that they're so flavorful, they're so hoppy. The alcohol is high enough on it. This one's almost 10%. It's like, I think maybe 9.6% alcohol by volume. Yeah, 9.6. That they'll actually sit in your basement for a good 2, 3, 4, even up to maybe 5 years. After that, I don't know. But I don't think most people are going to have these that long. But anyway, this is the beer I'm having tonight after watching Monday Night Football. I hope you'll look up one of these beers and maybe give it a try. If you can't find this, look for another barley wine. I know Avery has their Hog Heaven, which is really good. Southern Tier makes a backburner barley wine, which I also think is really good. I'd say probably the best one that I've had is the Three Floyds Behemoth barley wine. But those aren't found here locally in Kansas City, so I can't normally get those. And when I do find them, I tend to buy, 2 or 3 of those and bring them back home. But anyway, thanks again for coming back for another session of The Hopry. Follow me at Twitter, twitter.com/The Hopry. Also follow me on YouTube. Make sure you click that subscribe button, and You'll always get updated when I have new beers. And thanks again for coming back, guys. We'll see you next time.